The fork trembled in Marcus's hand as he sat across from Sarah at the dimly lit Italian restaurant. Knowing that tonight he was supposed to propose, knowing that the ring box in his pocket felt heavier than his dying hope, and knowing deep in his gut that something had shifted between them in a way he couldn't name but could feel in every uncomfortable silence. 3 years together, and somehow, in the past 6 months, they had become strangers who still held hands out of habit rather than desire. Sarah scrolled through her phone while they waited for their appetizers, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the screen in a rhythm that felt like a countdown to something inevitable. Marcus had chosen this restaurant because it was where they had their first date, hoping the nostalgia would rekindle whatever spark had dimmed between them. But nostalgia, he was learning, couldn't compete with the distance that grew when two people stopped truly seeing each other. He had been working 70-hour weeks at the law firm, climbing toward partner, while Sarah had been building her own marketing agency. Somewhere in their pursuit of success, they had forgotten to pursue each other. If you believe in the power of kindness, in unexpected moments that change everything, and in second chances at connection, please hit that like button, drop a comment below, share this story, and subscribe to this channel. You won't regret staying for what happens next. The couple at the table next to them couldn't have been more different. An elderly man, probably in his late 70s, sat with a woman who appeared to be his wife of many decades. They weren't looking at phones. They weren't checking the time. The old man was leaning forward, holding her hand across the table, speaking in soft tones that made her laugh, a genuine, musical laugh that made Marcus's chest ache with something he couldn't quite identify. It was longing. It was grief for something he had but was losing. The woman had a scarf wrapped around her head, the telltale sign of recent chemotherapy, but her eyes sparkled with more life than Marcus had felt in months. Their waiter approached the elderly couple with their check, and Marcus couldn't help but overhear the conversation that followed. The old man pulled out his wallet, counted his cash twice, and Marcus watched his weathered face fall. He was short, not by much, maybe $15 or $20, but enough that embarrassment colored his cheeks. The man began apologizing to his wife, explaining that he had miscalculated, that he thought he had brought enough. She touched his arm gently, reassuringly, suggesting they could put it on their credit card, but he shook his head, explaining that they had cut up their cards last month to avoid going deeper into debt while paying for her treatment. Something happened in Marcus in that moment. Something cracked open in the armor he had built around his heart through years of corporate competition and emotional self-preservation. He watched this man who, despite financial struggle, had brought his sick wife to a nice restaurant to give her one beautiful evening, and Marcus saw something he had forgotten existed. He saw love as action, not just feeling. He saw someone who prioritized connection over pride, experience over expense, presence over productivity. Without thinking, without the careful analysis that governed every other decision in his life, Marcus stood up. Sarah looked up from her phone, confused, as he walked to the elderly couple's table. The old man looked up at him with cautious, questioning eyes, probably expecting judgment or pity, neither of which Marcus felt. He felt only a desperate need to do something good, something real, something that mattered more than the briefs waiting on his desk or the billable hours he was sacrificing by taking this night off. Marcus spoke quietly, respectfully, asking if he could help with their check. The old man's eyes filled with tears, and he shook his head, too proud, too dignified to accept charity from a stranger. But Marcus persisted, not with the aggressive negotiation tactics he used in courtrooms, but with gentleness, explaining that it would mean something to him, that sometimes we all need help, that he could see how much they loved each other, and it had reminded him of something important. The wife touched her husband's hand, giving him permission to accept grace. And finally, the old man nodded, his voice breaking as he thanked Marcus. Marcus paid their bill, the cost meaningless compared to the weight lifting from the elderly man's shoulders. As he walked back to his table, he realized Sarah was crying, not the quiet, controlled tears she sometimes shed during sad movies, but genuine, body-shaking sobs that she tried to hide behind her hands. He sat down, reaching across the table, and for the first time in months, she didn't pull away. Through her tears, Sarah began to talk, really talk. She confessed that she had been feeling invisible, that their relationship had become a series of scheduled check-ins between meetings that she couldn't remember the last time they had done something spontaneous or kind or meaningful together. She admitted that she had been questioning whether they had a future, whether success and partnership could coexist with the love they once had. She said she had almost canceled tonight, almost sent a text suggesting they postpone, because she didn't know if she could pretend everything was fine anymore. Marcus felt the ring box pressing against his thigh and suddenly understood that proposing tonight, in the state they had been in just 20 minutes ago, would have been a disaster. They would have gotten engaged out of momentum, out of the fear of throwing away 3 years, out of the assumption that the next step was marriage. But that elderly couple and the simple act of paying for their meal had shown him something crucial. Marriage wasn't the next achievement to unlock. It wasn't a milestone on a timeline. It was choosing every single day to see your partner, to prioritize them, to do small acts of love especially when life got hard. He told Sarah everything. He told her about the proposal he had planned, about the ring he had bought, about how wrong it felt now because they needed to fix what was broken before they could build something new. He told her about the 70-hour weeks and how he had convinced himself he was working for their future when really he was running from their present. He confessed his fears, his loneliness, his realization that he had been treating their relationship like another case to manage rather than a garden to tend. The elderly couple passed their table on the way out, and the old man stopped, placing a gentle hand on Marcus's shoulder. He said something that would echo in Marcus's mind forever. He said that he and his wife had been married 47 years. And the secret wasn't finding someone perfect, but choosing someone daily, especially on the days when choosing felt difficult. He said that the kindness Marcus had shown them reminded him that goodness still existed in the world, and that any woman loved by a man capable of such spontaneous generosity was lucky indeed. Then he leaned down, whispered that he could see they were working through something, and advised them to keep choosing each other, because from what he could see they had something worth fighting for. If this story has touched your heart, if it's reminded you of what really matters in love and life, please like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel for more stories that matter. Your engagement helps these messages of hope reach more people who need them. After the couple left, Marcus and Sarah didn't eat much of their meal. Instead, they talked for 3 hours, right there in that restaurant, rebuilding the bridge between them with honest words and vulnerable confessions. They made commitments, real ones. Weekly date nights without phones, therapy together to address their communication patterns. A promise to tell each other when work was consuming too much space. A vow to do one spontaneous act of kindness together each month, to remember that they were part of a larger world that needed more love. Please comment below with one word describing how this story made you feel. I read every single comment. 6 months later, Marcus proposed again, but not in a fancy restaurant. He proposed on a Saturday afternoon while they were volunteering together at a soup kitchen, both of them wearing matching aprons, both of them tired and happy and covered in flour from making bread. The ring was the same, but everything else was different. They were different. They had learned that love wasn't just a feeling you fell into, but a choice you made every morning. A practice you committed to, a kindness you extended even when it was inconvenient. And sometimes, if they were lucky, they would see an elderly couple at a restaurant, holding hands across the table, and they would remember the night a stranger. Simple need and one spontaneous act of generosity had saved them from sleepwalking into a life where they had everything except what mattered most. They had learned that the greatest gift you could give someone wasn't perfection, but presence, not success, but seeing them, not grand gestures, but genuine connection. That night, paying for a stranger's meal had cost Marcus $47, but it had given him back something priceless. The understanding that love, real love, was less about the proposal and more about the thousand small moments of choosing kindness, both to strangers and to the person sitting across from you over and over again for the rest of your life.